Hi, curious people. Welcome to another episode of Curious People Wanted, a program series by the Barnum Museum in Bridgeport, Connecticut. My name is Adrienne Saint-Pierre, and I'm the curator here at the Barnum. And wow, we have some great artifacts in our collection, and I love sharing the stories of them with you through this series. Now, one of the most amazing artifacts we have on display captures any visitor's attention is this carriage, this show carriage on display. And a lot of people look at it and wonder, what on earth is this meant to represent? I kind of thought about Cinderella's pumpkin coach when I first saw this, but it's not a pumpkin. Any idea what this might be? It's actually an English walnut. And there's a very important reason that it is shaped like a walnut, and it has to do with the little person, a performer employed by P.T. Barnum, who used this show carriage. This little person was younger than Tom Thumb. Tom Thumb, when he got to be in his 20s, of course, he was an adult, had a mustache. He didn't have quite the cute factor he did when he was younger. Barnum was very excited to learn about a boy living in Manchester, New Hampshire, whose name was George Washington Morrison Nutt, who had the same type of proportionate dwarfism and had already been touring with companies since the time he was about 6 years old. Barnum learned about this boy and promptly set Fortis Hitchcock up to New Hampshire to see if maybe they could work out a contract. What I'm holding here is actually a contract. I don't think that it's the original one that was signed, but it is a very old copy. And it dates from December of 1861. Barnum, like he did with everything, promoted the fact that he really had to compete to sign this young boy, George Washington Morrison Nutt, and had to pay a lot of money to get him. Now, the boy's parents, Rodnia Nutt and Maria Nutt, had 5 children. Another one of their children, a boy named Rodnia Jr., was also quite short, although taller than his younger brother. So Barnum signed the 2 of them, and this is a really interesting contract. It's a 5-year contract, and Barnum agreed to pay them essentially $30,000 over the period of 5 years. They started out at a modest weekly salary of $12, and it increased every year. In addition, he had to provide their food, housing, clothing, and all that. And interestingly, if they did stay under contract the full 5 years, he would give them a carriage and ponies. He gave a stage name to George, which was Commodore. And we have General Tom Thumb, we had Commodore Nutt, and he quickly became a star. Barnum had seen in the boy some of the same qualities that Charles Stratton, i.e. Tom Thumb, had. Very, very bright, quick-witted, and he thought, yeah, this young man will quickly be a star in the American Museum. And so he was. And to make the most of promoting him, he had this amazing walnut carriage created for him. George's older brother, Rodney Jr., was the coachman. He was about 49 inches tall. George was considerably shorter. He was 29 inches tall. So the pair of them made this amazing team, and this wasn't really meant to travel. I think it would be a little too fragile for that, but certainly it got people's attention in New York City. I'm with the Barnum Museum's executive director, Kathy Marr, today, and we're going to give you an idea of how this Nutt carriage works, because you might have wondered, well, how on earth did George get in this carriage? So as you can see, there's a separation in the top half here, and we're going to just gently lift the back so you get a better idea of it. All right, here we go. So it's fully supported. These things are fragile. But you can see both sides actually open up like this. And there's upholstery inside. It's like a medium blue color tufted upholstery. I guess he could have had a friend. There's actually 2 little seats, one in the front and one in the back, and the windows too. So it's a wonderful, wonderful object, and it's truly one of a kind. We do have some Tom Thumb carriages but there were a number of those made. There's only one Nutt carriage, and we're very proud to have it. Our visitors just love it. So Barnum first presented Commodore Nutt on stage as a drummer boy. And so this is what they call a carte de visite. It's sort of a baseball card size photograph, and people bought these and collected them. So here's one of Commodore Nutt dressed in the role of drummer boy. And of course, remember, this is the time of the Civil War, so you know, military things were appropriate, shall we say. And then here's another carte de visite, again, a popular view because it shows Barnum standing next to Commodore Nutt. Of course, as a Commodore, he was given a naval costume. He even visited the White House and met Abraham Lincoln, who apparently leaned down and said to him, you know, if your fleet is ever in danger, I want you to get out and wade to shore to be safe. And George had a kind of quick wit, so he responded, looking up Abraham Lincoln's long legs, and said something to the effect like, sir, I'm sure you would be well able to do that. Of course, he wouldn't because he was so short. But he was very successful, never quite to the extent that General Tom Thumb was. He was the best man at the wedding between Tom Thumb and Lavinia Warren. Lavinia's younger sister, Minnie, was the bridesmaid. And the four of them actually went on a 3-year tour of the world between 1869 and 1872. Commodore Nutt became very, very famous as well, and he was quite successful working for Barnum, but I think there was a falling out at some point, and he decided to kind of go off on his own. He went off to California. He tried starting his own company, never quite made a financial go of it. And then sadly, he suffered from Bright's disease. It's a type of kidney disease, and he passed away in 1881. He was only 33 years old when he died. I believe his performance gear, such as the carriage, came into the hands of Lavinia and Charles Stratton, and so were preserved. This Nutt carriage came to us from California, where it was on exhibit at Cliff House, Sutro Baths in California. We're thrilled to have it. It's a treasure, and as I said, it's truly one of a kind. You won't see another carriage like this. So I hope you enjoyed hearing about the Nutt carriage, and sometime come and take a look for yourself at the Barnum Museum in Bridgeport, Connecticut. See you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.